Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello and welcome to the State of the Economy podcast. I'm Jyoti Datta. A recent notification by the center had made it compulsory for doctors to prescribe medicines using only their generic names. Put simply, the prescription should mention the chemical composition, not a brand name of the medicine. Now, the Indian Medical Association came out with a strong statement after that, saying that the move was ill-advised. And today we have IMA's national president, Dr. Sharad Kumar Agarwal, to explain why they feel the directive could, in their words, risk patient safety. Yes. So, Doctor, why does the IMA, that represents about 4 lakh doctors from across the country and multiple specialities, feel so strongly about this against this directive?
It is not the against or pro. It is that what is good for our country. We think that we play the advisory role rather than opposing anything. We welcome their move that the language should be eligible. There should be a rational prescription. These all are good things. But the problem is that thought process is okay, good. They want to decrease the spend of per prescription of the patient. That is okay. We are also with that. The problem is in our country, there is hardly any quality control from production to the shelf life of the available generic medicines. So our issue is that first we should establish a infrastructure for having a quality generic medicine which is able to produce the same bioavailability of that particular dose which is required to counter any disease, which is definitely missing. And if it is there, so the doctor community, we are not aware of that, and we are not in the confidence, having a confidence that based on our decades of experience come to know that this is the particular brand of medicine of particular salt is effective in this disease. There are so many brands are available in the market, but doctor is specifically writing few brands on which he or she is comfortable that yes, this dose or this brand is effective to my patient based on their experience on the past treated patient. That is the biggest problem. That is the biggest issue, because it is not directly affecting the doctor, but it is going to affect the entire population of our country. That is a bigger issue. If we are forced to only give that so-called generic medicines, who will be responsible if these medicines are not effective, or God forbid, if some other adverse effect, or because of the ineffectiveness, because of the no quality control of the so-called generic medicines, and patient condition worsens, who will be responsible for that? That is the biggest question. In the critical care, in ICU, in admitted patient, suppose if doctor is only hands are tight and they are bound to prescribe only 1, 2, 3, 4 medicines, and if the patient is not recovering, and you can understand in critical care in ICU, you just imagine what you have covered in the COVID time. We hardly have hours or minutes to take the decision. And if we have to choose and does the trial, the first we will give generic medicine, and God forbid if they didn't work, who will be responsible?
Correct.
That is our issue. And the second point is, we suggest the MRP is decided by the government of India of the medicines. So why can't we decrease the MRP to the desirable level which government feels it's okay for the consumer? So they can very well decrease the MRP. The third point is, at present in India, many of the company, they are producing branded generic and generic. The three kind of same company is producing the medicines, doing the production of the medicines with different rates. So if the quality of all three brand is the same, then why are the rates are different for all the three medicine? So what is the reason? So I think there should be one nation, one drug, one price, whether it is generic or branded. That is our request.
You make a very important, several actually very important points here, doctor. That's true. So what you have said is that the decision doctors take on which medicine is prescribed is based on your experience. And now that decision making could actually shift to the trade or the chemist or the pharmacist there who may or the the retail who may or may not even have a trained pharmacist. So that's the concern. There is that concern as well.
See, definitely. You see, as per the law in the country, all the medicines can be purchased or sold on a legible prescription letter of a qualified doctor, right? If doctors are bound to only prescribe a generic medicine, then why we are producing and why we are not stopping the production of branded medicine? If doctors are not allowed to prescribe generic, then who will prescribe those medicines? It is against the law, number one. Number two, you don't have faith on those doctors whom brought you laurels for decades. Recently in the COVID, the entire world appraised your COVID management. It is all because of that poor doctors and healthcare worker. We lost our 2000 doctors serving the COVID. And now you have suspicions on those doctors suddenly. What is this? See, those doctors who have spent their 10 years in the medical college studying and their entire childhood in just studying, you are not trusting them, and you are trusting those shopkeeper where probably no pharmacist is available. He or she is allowed to substitute any brand for their choice. What is mockery of the law?
So just to understand, doctor, so in 2017, this was kind of mentioned, at an event by the Prime Minister on prescribing generics. And I think some doctors were you already prescribing the generic medicine. So what has changed now? That was it really earlier just an advisory and now it has become a law because the understanding is generics are less expensive?
We all love our beloved Prime Minister and we follow. And under our beloved and dynamic Prime Minister, sir, who led our COVID management campaign very well and motivated the entire doctor and healthcare worker of this country during COVID pandemic. We just, follow his instruction and his advices. The problem is, see, somebody has to tell sir also that this is the status of the generic medicine in country, right? The second point, what you say, see, advisory is one thing, but putting it under regulation is a different thing. Because if something coming under regulation, it become a law, and breach of those regulations, they are attract to some penalties, which is absolutely not acceptable and not good for a country like India, where in every 50 kilometer, the social, economical, behavioral, entire diversity is in there in country. So I don't think this is good for India, where the 70% healthcare is in the hand of private sector, where the 75% population lives in the rural area. This is not good. This is a Western world copy paste kind of thought. Good thought, but poor execution.
So, doctor, what you're saying is that when medicines from a lay person, the medicines that are there in the market, you assume that everything has been approved by regulatory agencies, etc. But you're saying that quality is not the same across medicines. Prices are not the same. You have the same medicine, which is either a branded generic or a generic. Similar composition, but different price points they're being sold, and of maybe not of the same quality that a doctor would want or a patient would want. And so really government has the tools here to control prices if the price is the healthcare cost is their concern. But quality, you're saying, is not the same across all these different categories.
That is what we come to know by experience.
I think that one would take a doctor's word for it. Yes. What are pharmaceutical companies saying? Have they brought up this in any way with the doctor community?
For this issue?
On generics prescription? Because finally there is a lot of pain.
No. See, Indian Medical Association is absolutely a apolitical association, which is representing the modern medicine doctor in India. We are putting our point of view. We are not concerned or we are not in touch on none of the pharmaceutical company. They contact us and we don't appreciate and encourage these kind of things because we are putting our view, right?
So from a quality point of view, you're saying that there is a concern between, the different medicines. And until you have a standard quality for all medicines, you can't exactly bring in a generics prescription kind of a directive. That's what your statement had said.
You take any example of the material available on different cost. Suppose you take any kind of any shirt or anything, any ready-made garment, okay, which is available on Janpat also, which is available on the showrooms also, which is available on the branded outlet also. Their look can be the same from far side, but their rates are highly different. If you touch that texture, then you feel yes, there is a difference. So it is not only just putting the salt. If there is a difference in the cost, difference in the prices, so there has to be some compromise on the quality. If something is available in the same market on the higher rate and the something is available on a very cheaper rate, so that is a by and large dimension of the market.
Doctor, in an earlier conversation, you had told me this could also raise the potential for violence against doctor. Could you explain
Yes,
how?
see, it will like a fuel in the fire. In our country, probably the one of the country where the violence is so much. Every day, somewhere, there is a violence on the doctor and the healthcare establishment because we are demanding for a central law. See, the reason of maximum violence is when the output and the outcome is not as per the desire of the attendants. So, if we are bound to prescribe a generic, so-called generic medicine, and as we are questioning the quality and the efficacy of that medicine and surety of the efficacy of that medicine, if those medicines are not effective, as I mentioned that if a critical care patient, we gave the generic medicine and it comes out to be disastrous, then it will again increase the violence cases against the doctors.
Right. So it certainly has to do also with patient safety, is what you're saying. Fine.
Absolutely, it is for the patient safety, ma'am. See,
So,
doctor don't decide the MRP. Doctors don't decide the combination, which combination will come into the market. And doctor has no objection to decreasing the MRP of the so-called branded also. So it is absolutely what we are commenting. We are commenting for our patients, our society.
right. Finally, doctor, what is it that you all have, you have approached the health ministry. So is there any dialogue that has been called for? How would this go forward now? Because it's already a law. Your doctors are expected to follow it. There's a penalty also, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe in the government. The government is very much sensitive, and whenever anybody highlighting any ill effect of this, any decision or announcement, they usually take up and they usually have intention to correct it. I am very much hopeful that they will call us in next few days or in weeks time, because we have written to them also.
With that, we'll come to an end of this podcast, Doctor. From the BL team and myself, thank you so much for your time and your insight.
Thank you, Anna.